Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Farsi Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Hope you guys just had a wonderful, an amazing, a fantastic Thanksgiving. I know I had an awesome Thanksgiving. I hope you did as well. We got some help. Ladies and gentlemen. We got some help from the Green Bay Packers, those beautiful Green Bay Packers. Then the Washington Commanders pooped the bed in Dallas. And then right after that, the San Francisco 49ers handled their business against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. So we got help from one team and not a lot of help from anybody else. We'll go through the slate of games yesterday, how it helps the Eagles. We'll take a look at the NFC standings as of right now. Those San Francisco 49ers, now they don't get an extra 3 days here to prep and be ready to take on the Philadelphia Eagles after the Eagles take on the Buffalo Bills this weekend. And we'll get into that game coming up in just a little bit on the show. Yesterday, or actually 2 days ago it was now, let's see, it's Nick Sirianni, Brian Johnson, and Jalen Hurts. Well, Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni all came to the defense of Brian Johnson during their most recent press conferences. We'll let you hear what they have to say about the Eagles and this offense this season versus this Eagles offense last season, and also this Eagles offense under Brian Johnson as a play caller versus Shane Steichen as the play caller. There was a couple of things that really, I hate to use the term, went viral, but were big conversation points at the press conference. One was the Jimmy Kempski question about this Eagles offense and the jet sweep that they ran against in their most recent game here. The jet sweep that they ran with DeAndre Swift against the Kansas City Chiefs, where DeAndre Swift was, well, go figure, was jetting across the field and was able to go full speed, and they had the timing perfect with Jalen Hurts, and they handed it off there in the jet sweep to DeAndre Swift, who then went 35 yards, his biggest run of the game. It was pretty impressive. It was a pretty great play. And it was one of the plays that I even said last week when I looked at Brian Johnson after the game, I went, that was one of the things that I liked for Brian Johnson. The interesting thing in all of it is that as it was happening, the thought of flashes jumped to mind. We usually use the term flashes for young prospects, young draft pick, rookies. Oh, they showed flashes of what they're supposed to do, Brian Johnson is a rookie play caller in the NFL, has shown flashes this year of somebody who looks creative, somebody who looks smart, somebody who looks well equipped to do the job. And then there's other times you're going, it doesn't look so right. It doesn't look so good. Something doesn't look don't like it. Now here's the unfortunate part about it. We don't know what's called right there at the line. We don't know what's changed at the line. We don't know the play that's called in. And sometimes it could be a bad decision by Jalen Hurts. Other times it could be a bad play called by Brian Johnson. As I get more and more further and further away from the Kansas City Chiefs game, I got to give Brian Johnson a lot more credit than I did Tuesday morning. And the reason, even after the game, because the more I realized what was going on in that game, the more I realized that Brian Johnson was kind of going through a little bit of a boxing match here. I still don't like some of the general idea of what he was doing, but I get why he was doing it. There was at least, as I said, I think it was even Wednesday morning, there was a method to the madness with the bubble screens to wide receivers, especially when they were backed up deep in their own territory. The back-to-back plays there. One was to Devontae Smith, where also A.J. Brown missed a block. Also looked like he didn't really want much to do with blocking. And then the other play was to the other side of the field with Julio Jones that gained a couple of yards there. The back-to-back bubble screens, in that instance, when you're backed up that far in your own territory, that still doesn't really hit right for me. But the overall method to the madness was to stretch the field of the Kansas City Chiefs defense and allow Steve Spagnuolo to think, all right, I better cover the outside here a little bit, which opened up things in the middle for a nice run there by DeAndre Swift. And later being able to throw the ball downfield for a 41-yard strike to Devontae Smith that set up the tush-push touchdown by Jalen Hurts. So that was good. That was fine. That was nice. Everything else, left a lot to be desired. But Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni both came to the defense, as you would expect, of Brian Johnson. One of the things we will get into is this offense this year versus the offense last year. There is one small difference, and then there is one more noticeable difference. We'll get to that. And those are the two biggest stats that you measure the success of an offense by. So we'll get to that conversation. And yes, we will run through the slate of games yesterday. We have Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni both on the difference between Shane Steichen and Brian Johnson and why Jalen Hurts has a little bit more confidence in Brian Johnson. But first, before we get to our 5 things to talk about when it comes to this Bills matchup, against Philadelphia Eagles. Let's talk about the slate of games yesterday. It was a wild one in the NFL, as you would assume with the goings-on of Thanksgiving. All right, first, did I not call this? I called this. The Green Bay Packers went into Detroit, and they beat the Detroit Lions yesterday, 29-22. Now, I know that you were going to have the game that Jordan Love had, but credit to Jordan Love, he made a lot of things happen yesterday. He was on point. Only 268 yards. Only 268 yards, but he was coming off a career-high day. Throws another 3 touchdowns in yesterday's game, goes 22-32, and he gets the win. Posts a 125 passer rating in the process, and Detroit looked lost in that first half. And if you were like me, you were settling in, you're watching football, you got the family running around, and I'm thinking, this is off to a good start. This is off to a fantastic start, because the Philadelphia Eagles need all the help they can get in order to put some space between them and the rest of the NFC. And the Lions, being an 8-win team, of course, are right there nipping at the heels of the Eagles. So the Green Bay Packers helped the Eagles out phenomenally well, jumping out to a 20-6 lead by the end of the first quarter. Unfortunately, that was as much help as the Eagles would get in that given day, because the very next game, something else I said you got to watch out for. I didn't necessarily call it, so I can't take credit for that, but I did not expect the Commanders. Let's just get this out of the way. I did not expect the Commanders to come out and win that game yesterday in Dallas against the Cowboys. Not even a little bit. I thought the Cowboys were going to win it handily. I didn't know they'd go into the 45-point range again, but that's exactly what they did. Building on their league best point differential, at least their conference best league differential. They came into this week tied with the Baltimore Ravens with a plus 127 point differential in the NFL. And well, they built on it. They built on it just a little bit against the Commanders. But one thing I did say, you have the NFC's leader in interceptions in Sam Howell, also the NFL leader in passing yards, go figure, and Sam Howell coming into Dallas, where he was going to be facing DaRon Bland. DaRon Bland was one interception away from setting the all-time pick-6 record for a single season. And wouldn't you know it, DaRon Bland picks off Sam Howell, takes it to the house for his 5th pick-6 of the season, an all-time record, beating Eric Allen, as a matter of fact, and 2 other fellas that held the record. DaRon Bland gets the record against Sam Howell and the Washington Commanders. Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, you're facing a guy that throws more interceptions than anybody in your conference, anybody in your division, certainly, obviously. And DaRon Bland takes full advantage of that, and the Cowboys win 45-10. Again, another blowout. Here's the thing. I got to admit, this is going to sound weird. This isn't going to feel great coming out of my face, but I got to say it to you. Ready? Here you go. I love it when the Cowboys blow out another horrible team. And I know you could jump right to the idea, well, the Commanders took the Eagles to overtime, and the Commanders had a 17-point lead on the Eagles. Okay. Yeah, you can certainly say that, and I get it. I understand that. But the Eagles don't look at it as fool's gold. Like, if they were to blow out the Commanders, they wouldn't look at it like I think the Cowboys look at it, or certainly Cowboys fans look at it. Oh, they're so great. You know what you are? You're great at beating craptastic teams. You're great at it. Congratulations. And I love the idea that it builds up the Cowboys' hopes. Oh, look how great we are. This is amazing. Okay. You got to face the Eagles coming up in 3 weeks. Bills, 49ers, Cowboys, and then Seattle. That's what the Eagles have coming up on their schedule. We'll throw it out there one more time for you. They beat KC. Now they got Buffalo. Now they got San Francisco, who, by the way, again, gets a nice long rest, whatever. And then at Dallas and at Seattle. That's what it looks like for the 9-1 Philadelphia Eagles. So Dallas wins. And then, what the hell, man? Seattle, 2 first-half turnovers, I believe it was, wanted no help. They wanted no business in helping the Philadelphia Eagles. Christian McCaffrey goes out there, gets his 11th rushing touchdown of the season. And how about this? In their win over the Seahawks last night, final score, 31-13. Christian McCaffrey gets his 11th touchdown of the season, rushing touchdown of the season. That's the San Francisco 49ers all-time record for rushing touchdowns in a season. I mean, Frank Gore was there for most of my natural life. No. Never got to 11. Even Ricky Waters. Yeah, that Ricky Waters. Not 11. Roger Craig go even further back there. Didn't get 11. I just thought that number was low, was very low. Like, you think about an Eagles team that is always known for not running the football. What did the Sean McCoy have that year? 17? And then the San Francisco 49ers, 11 with Christian McCaffrey. Oh, that record going to get broken. I think we all realize that. That's pretty amazing. Hopefully it doesn't happen against the Eagles, but you understand. The 49ers, they win. They win 31-13 over the Seattle Seahawks. Here's how it looks right now in the NFC. Eagles, of course, are up there at 9-1. The Niners, Lions, and Cowboys are all 8-3. And it's just really odd that the Eagles have had this great a year. Like, people talk about how much there's a lot of bad teams in the NFL. Well, it seems to be a decent amount of good teams in the NFL as well here. Minnesota has just been on fire. Now they're 6-5, despite losing Justin Jefferson, despite not having their starting quarterback. Josh Dobbs looks like the second coming of Fran Tarkenton, the way he's able to scramble behind the line of scrimmage for the Minnesota Vikings this year. Seahawks obviously took the L last night. New Orleans obviously doesn't scare me, and then the Green Bay Packers are down there as well at 5-6 on the season. So that's the way it looks right now for your Philadelphia Eagles. Let's get into this Eagles team right quick. All right. First and foremost, here's where we're at. Last year, to get into this Brian Johnson conversation, here's what I'll say that I feel is a fair judgment of Brian Johnson. Here's my a very fair assessment of Brian Johnson. I've seen flashes of a guy that could be a good offensive coordinator, a good play caller in the NFL. I've seen flashes of it. We've seen the fake bubble screen to A.J. Brown against the Rams that caught everybody off guard and went, damn, that was pretty good. Olamide Zaccheaus' crossing route against the Buccaneers in week 2. That was pretty good. Creative, hadn't seen that with Olamide Zaccheaus early goings of the season. Haven't seen much of it since either, but the back-to-back bubble screens didn't like, but stretching the field against the Kansas City Chiefs, I liked a lot. The jet sweep with DeAndre Swift, I liked that a lot. The fake brotherly shove in the first Washington game, I believe it was. I like that. More of that, please. I've seen flashes of a guy that really could work out here in Philadelphia. But here's the interesting thing. The Eagles make it back to a Super Bowl. The Eagles continue to, let's see here. They're scoring 27 points a game. They're averaging 362 yards per game, 363. It's 362.9. So I'll go ahead and give them 1/10 of a yard more, right? That's pretty good. It's pretty good. All right. Both those rank in the top 10 or top 5 in the NFL. Now, where is he compared to last year? The Eagles, compared to Shane Steichen's most recent season in Philadelphia last year, compared to this year, the Eagles are averaging 1 fewer point per game. 1 fewer point, not 1 fewer touchdown. 1 fewer point per game. And they're averaging 27 yards fewer per game than they were a year ago. That's the more glaring difference, but it's not huge. Less than 30 yards per game on the season compared to a year ago. So, yeah, I would say Brian Johnson has done a pretty good job of keeping this Eagles offense on point. And, yeah, it's another season where you're not having Dallas Goedert for a huge chunk of it. You have A.J. Brown at times playing at one of the highest levels you've ever seen a wide receiver. No, the highest level you've ever seen a wide receiver play at for 6 consecutive games of 125-plus yards, coming off a game where he's just got 1 catch. So that'll be one of my 5 things here is making sure you get him going. Spoiler alert. Make sure you get A.J. Brown going. And then when you look around the rest of the stats here, rushing yards, not so great. Then you also look at the passing yards from Jalen Hurts, and you look at the passer rating, and that's down from a year ago. But first one is prompted. Yesterday, 2 days ago, Jalen Hurts was asked about Brian Johnson as an offensive coordinator. It's a little bit of a long answer, about 1:20, but hang with it here. First part's prompted when he's asked about Brian Johnson and the criticism that he's heard. Jalen Hurts says pretty much exactly what you would expect him to say about a guy who's known since he was 4 years old, but it does offer some insight into Brian Johnson behind the scenes. It's a 2-part question here. Here it is. Jalen Hurts talking about his offensive coordinator Brian
I
Johnson?
think he's controlling. He's controlling the things that he can. I'm, I don't really know where you're getting at with it, but I know my take on it is never getting too high, never getting too low. Keep the main thing the main thing. Focus on your preparation and the things that are important to you, and knowing him for a long time, I know what type of person he is. And so,
What kind of person is he? Like, if we only see him up there in the sidelines, what's he like?
I mean, he's about his business. I mean, he's a guy. He was the OC at Utah at the age of 23, 24, I think. So he's been doing this a very long time, and he has when we talk about someone that's rare in rare company. He's done this, and he's been kind of one of a kind in it, in a sense of just the experience and the route that he's taken to get to where he is now. It's very unprecedented for someone to start off that young, and then just to work their way up, and obviously had the opportunity he has now. So he's doing a great job with it.
He is. But according to Jalen Hurts, he is. There's something about Utah. Here's the thing. I kind of feel like, and I'm going to use one of my favorite movies as a reference here. Wayne's World 2. There's a line where Mike Myers, Wayne Campbell, is trying to get into a VIP area of a concert. And he goes, I got to get in there. My girlfriend's in there. And the bouncer goes, a lot of people's girlfriends are in there. You know what I mean? When you are in the NFL and you're, for lack of a better term, bragging about college, or somebody else is touting your college experience to help you in the NFL, nobody cares. A lot of people were good in college in there. A lot of people did great things in college in there. If the VIP room is the NFL, a lot of people were really good at the college level in there. But in there is a totally different animal. In there, you have to still rise to the top of the rest of the heap, of the rest of the pack, baby. And that's what the NFL is there for. So when people start touting college, like if you're a rookie, then yeah, that's all you have to go on. I get it. And he's a rookie offensive coordinator, rookie play caller. But it's different for a play caller and coach than it is a player. You have to prove that you can survive at that level. This is a guy that's at least been around the coaching circles in the NFL. I understand he has called plays in college and not done it before this season in the NFL. It's not much of a learning curve. And maybe his, hidden genius is the idea that he allows Jalen Hurts to have a little bit more freedom. Yesterday, 2 days ago, Nick Sirianni talked about the freedom that the offensive players have. They don't want robots out there. Literally what he said, I don't want robots out there. I want guys to go out there and be able to, execute, of course, what we call. But if they see something out there because they're the ones out there, we want them to have that freedom. The context of that was the interception that Jalen Hurts threw when trying to get the ball to A.J. Brown, when A.J. Brown looked like he was trying to take off for the end zone because they had nobody over the top, apparently. And he had Jalen Hurts there trying to tell him, hey, go over the top. And apparently Jalen Hurts just threw it to where he was supposed to be. I don't mind that kind of freedom. Mistakes like that are going to happen in an NFL game. And if players like that have that freedom, that's great. The wide receiver has to realize whether or not he is seen or not by his quarterback. And at that point, he wasn't. But for Brian Johnson, the brag on college, or to brag about college, by Jalen Hurts' mouth, not his, that doesn't help. The only thing that helps is how it's helped Jalen Hurts at the NFL level. I understand you want to go back and you want to talk about the guy's resume and build him up, and that's fine. He's your buddy, he's your boy, and you want to help him out. But we got to see more of the proof in the pudding when it comes to what we see on a more consistent basis in the NFL. Now, when you go to the numbers, and this is why, like Sam Howell is a leading thrower in the National Football League, okay? Passing yards ain't what they used to be, as far as I'm concerned. That's talk about not a brag. I lead the league in passing yards. So you're down a lot in the second half. You got to air it out. That's basically what that means to me. So looking at the numbers from last year to this year, yeah, they look very similar, especially the points per game, 1 point differential between last year and this year. But what matters to me more is when I watch these games, do I see a fluidity? Do I see a flow? I'm not seeing it as much as the next person. I'm certainly not seeing it as much as Nick Sirianni. Here's Nick Sirianni 2 days ago, unprompted, just simply talking about the Eagles offense, and he invokes the name Brian Johnson to give his offensive coordinator and play caller some props.
And I think Brian's done a phenomenal job of calling the game. I really feel like we haven't missed. Obviously Shane did an unbelievable job all last year, but I don't feel like we've missed a beat on offense. We've been in a good groove, and Brian has just done a great job of leading this group. Have done a great job of calling the game, adjusting in the game. I just think he's done a top-notch job, and that was an example of that.
The example was the jet sweep. Those are things that I love seeing, and I want to continue to see that. And I want to see, just like you would see any young or inexperienced player or coach, you want to see them continue to come along. You want to see the flashes, and then you want the flashes to become the norm. You want the special thing to do. You want the special thing that they see to become the thing they do all the time. And that's what I would love to see from Brian Johnson in the not too distant future, sooner rather than later. And this Bills game is going to be a tough one to do it because, again, the Bills and their defense looks like it's a pretty damn good defense again. And we'll get to that conversation coming up in a second. But to wrap it up with Brian Johnson, I will say this, for all the criticism I can throw his way, I am not as down on him as some other people. I even put it out there on social media after the bubble screen saying, okay, maybe he shouldn't call plays anymore. And then I understood the method of the madness. But we need to see more of that creativity more often. Sustained drives. This game against the Bills, the run game is going to be huge. And I understand, just like he does for the defense, Nick Sirianni lays out there pretty well a blueprint of what he wants to see from his defense. That's why you see very similar defenses from Jonathan Gannon to Sean Desai. But the second half adjustments, I think, is what ultimately separates Sean Desai from Jonathan Gannon, more so than anything. But when it comes to the offensive game plan and the scheme and the plays that are installed to call and the system that is there already, I need to see more of that fluidity. I need to see more of that success more frequently in the second half of this season from Brian Johnson as a play caller than what I have seen in the first half of the season. I feel like he has had tremendous talent in A.J. Brown and being able to find that fluidity. I think he's had tremendous talent in Jalen Hurts. I feel like you have not used guys like DeAndre Swift, even guys like Boston Scott. You have not, bottom line, used your running backs enough. And I know some people will bang the drum for Rashad Penny. I'm not quite there yet. But when we heard how great Trey Sermon was, man, Rashad Penny must suck. He's not even getting the praise that a guy like Trey Sermon was. But this game coming up against the Bills is going to be huge for the Eagles' run game, and we'll get to that right now. So let's talk about that. Eagles and Bills kick off 4:25, South Philly, coming up on Sunday. I can't wait for this game. Bills coming to this one after getting a very convincing win over the New York Jets, after the New York Jets in the opening game of the season came out with Aaron Rodgers and got injured, 4 plays into it? So, all right, not great for them. And then the Bills lost to Zach Wilson. That happened. Now, this time around, they went into Buffalo, and the Bills were able to get that win. Here's the thing that really sticks out to me. Number one thing I'm going to be looking at in this game is the Eagles secondary. Obviously, you have Bradley Roby back playing the nickel corner spot, and he was fantastic against the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, we all know the big play was punching the ball out of Travis Kelce's hands. I want to see more of that from Bradley Roby. But ultimately, the number one thing I'm going to be looking at in this game is the Buffalo Bills and their passing game, with Josh Allen throwing 7 straight games. 7 straight games he's thrown an interception. So, Kevin Byard, get after it, son. Darius Slay, give me a big play, please. James Bradbury, would nice to see you come up with one as well. Those 3 guys you can look at right now in the Eagles secondary to hopefully come up with that big play, because Josh Allen is just giving the football away. Number one thing I'm going to be looking at is for Josh Allen to be making a mistake, especially in a road game, especially against this Eagles defense, especially with the pressure he's going to have in his face from this Eagles defensive line. Get after it. Josh Allen's extremely athletic. You got to face him very similar to the way you got to face a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Get after it. He'll make mistakes. The Eagles have to be able to capitalize on those mistakes. They weren't able to capitalize nearly as much on the Kansas City Chiefs' mistakes. It's going to be something I'm looking at in this game big time. The fact that they picked off Patrick Mahomes and didn't turn it into points. The fact that they forced Travis Kelce into that fumble and then didn't turn it into points. You're not going to be able to get away with that many times in games. Now, they were able to take points off the board for the Chiefs, which is great, but they could have had a 14-point swing, 6-point swing at any point, using those interceptions, using those turnovers, rather, to turn points to turn into points for yourself. Number one thing I'm going to be looking at in this game is how the Eagles are going to be attacking Josh Allen and how they're going to be able to force interceptions or force mistakes by Josh Allen. No, number one thing. Number two, and this does not go in the Eagles' favor here. The Eagles continue to be terrible at defending tight ends. And I forget who it was a couple of weeks ago. Was it Higbee? I think it might have been Higbee. The Eagles were facing a tight end, and going into that game, they were the third worst in the NFL at defending the tight end. Well, that was 4 weeks ago. Now the Eagles are the worst team. Congratulations. The Philadelphia Eagles are the worst team in the NFL at defending against the tight end. And Dalton Kincaid, their rookie tight end, first-round pick for the Buffalo Bills, he hasn't had a huge breakout game. He's had success of at least 45-plus yards in his last 5 games, which is fine. But that huge game has not happened quite yet. I really would like it not to be this game. Because if you do have a guy like Josh Allen trying to buy time and break free behind the line of scrimmage and scramble around and all that stuff, a guy like Dalton Kincaid is going to be able to get open, especially against this secondary. They come into this game not only the worst in the NFL, but listen to this. When tight ends are targeted against their defense, they allow a passer rating of 127. That ain't a good one. Again, worst in the NFL. You might say, hey, they just came off a great game against the Travis Kelce and the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, great. Have that be the new norm. Let this be, they were terrible. Go to their Kansas City game and then come out. Ever since then, they've been fantastic. Let that be it. And Dalton Kincaid is a far cry from Travis Kelce. So let's just put that as it is. So please, for the love of everything holy and sacred, defend against the tight end in this game, especially if your pass rush is just about to get home. And then all of a sudden, Josh Allen's got Dalton Kincaid open. Please defend against that. The third thing, run the football. Please run the football. And when you're done running the football, run it a little bit more. DeAndre Swift, all these guys you got, the Kenny Gainwell fellow, that guy, run the football. Please and thank you. The Eagles have gotten so far away from it. And to see the occasional, again, creativity, to use that word again, with their offense and running the football, the jet sweep, whatever it might be, this is going to be a game where it's going to help you twofold. The number 3 reason why I'm talking about running the football is because the defense right now of the Buffalo Bills, they're 4th best for fewest points allowed. They're 2nd in takeaways. When you talk about a passer rating, though, that they allow as a defense, they're a middle-of-the-road passing defense. When it comes to being able to run the football, they're tied for 25th in the NFL. Tied for 25th in the NFL with yards allowed on average to running backs. 4.4 yards per carry when running backs carry the football against them. And this is coming from a person that doesn't mind the occasional, hey, Jalen Hurts, uniqueness of his game, and he takes off and he sprints for a first down or whatever, as long as it gets down or gets out of bounds, whatever the case may be. But I'm not against him running. But just as far as the running backs go, you're going to allow 4.4 yards per carry behind this offensive line and these running backs. Brian Johnson, Nick Sirianni, do not abandon the run. Do not abandon the run. DeAndre Swift's coming off one of his best games in like a month. Please do not get rid of the run game. Do not get away from the run game. This is the 4th thing. And it bleeds into the same thing. You got to run the football because this Buffalo Bills defense gets after the quarterback. As nimble as Jalen Hurts has been, he wasn't nimble enough to escape 5 sacks at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs. So that wasn't nimble enough to get away from that. And he has been one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL this season. Not great. Not great. Now you're facing a Bills defense that's coming off a 6-sack week against Zach Wilson. Okay, fine, it's Zach Wilson. Leonard Floyd having himself a hell of a season. And the Buffalo Bills have 39 sacks this year. That's the second most in the NFL. And the Buffalo Bills are number 1 in the NFL in quarterback hits. So, yeah, run the football. That'd be a good thing. That's the fourth thing I'm looking at. Number 5, it's a very general thing. And it's kind of, I have two things that are tied here. One is the very general, just your defense. Being able to hold Patrick Mahomes, and I understand drops were heavily involved, and drops, you got to take those into account. They're a big part of it. The bottom line is you were still able to show up in Kansas City and take care of business against Patrick Mahomes. Do that same thing. Do that same thing against a very athletic quarterback in Josh Allen. Make him make mistakes. Defense overall is going to have a huge impact on this. And offensively speaking, protecting the football. As I said, second in the league in takeaways. That is not going to be a very good thing if the Eagles are coughing the football up. This is a team that, yeah, although they can make mistakes too, they can force you into mistakes also. That's something the Eagles have to be very wary of, is protecting the football against this Buffalo Bills defense. And protecting the football against this Buffalo Bills offense as well, and making sure they're being aggressive and getting after it. It can go twofold. The turnover battle is going to be a huge factor in this game. I have zero doubt about that, and I just hope it's in the Eagles' favor. So they got to be smart with it. A couple other things here, honorable mentions that I'm curious to see. A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's coming off just a one-catch performance. Yes, he could have had a touchdown if Jalen Hurts would have seen him, would have saw him, but unfortunately that wasn't the case against Kansas City. But with A.J. Brown only having that one reception, I am very curious to see how he goes about it in this game, considering this season, after his last game where he drastically underachieved, or they weren't able to get him very much involved in the offense, he was dominant. Absolutely dominant. One catch for 8 yards against Kansas City. The last time he only had a game of 4 or fewer catches, that's when he went on the streak. 131 yards, 175, 127, 131, 137, 130. So the last time he had a quote-unquote down game, he came roaring back with an unprecedented, never seen before, 6-game stretch of 125-plus yards. No one ever did that before. So if he's having a down game, get ready for the bounce back. And this could be that bounce back. So that's what I'm looking at when it comes to this matchup with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Buffalo Bills. Let me tell you right now. Oh, by the way, I'll give you my official prediction at the end of the show, as per usual. Before I get into the chat check, let's get into this conversation here, and that has to do with our friends at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Make sure you take advantage of all that MyBookie has to offer. MyBookie, ladies and gentlemen, they have some incredible things going on right now. The best part about MyBookie, don't even need to be a sports whiz to cash in on everything from politics to your favorite TV shows. It has it all right there. MyBookie, mybookie.ag. So throughout the holidays, Thanksgiving, of course, yesterday, throughout the holidays, I told you I had my eye on the Detroit Lions. Did not think that they were going to cover, did not think they were going to win. That's why I made a bet on mybookie.ag on the money line for the Green Bay Packers. Thank you very much, MyBookie. So take advantage of all they have to offer, especially when you use promo code Farzy when you sign up. That's promo code Farzy at mybookie.ag. First deposit promo code Farzy for a sweet deposit bonus of up to $1,000. So take advantage at mybookie.ag with promo code Farzy to claim your cash bonus. This isn't just a promo code, ladies and gentlemen. It is your secret weapon to get the extra edge on the house. And the best part, once again, you don't have to be a sports whiz. You can bet on anything. Politics, your favorite TV shows, and then some. Bet on anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Before we go any further, I'm sorry, I forgot to get to this earlier. Going into the Bills-Eagles game, this is the latest injury report from your Philadelphia Eagles. And this is what they have going on. Derek Barnett, not shocking. Grant Calcaterra, not shocking. Justin Evans, not shocking. Dallas Goedert, obviously. Milton Williams, concussion. We'll see what the status is today. A.J. Brown, DeAndre Swift, and Quez Watkins all limited. While Julio Jones was a full participant with a knee injury. One thing I wanted to get into regarding this list here, the injury report for the Eagles, is Quez Watkins. I am not a Quez Watkins fan. Okay. I would like to see Julio Jones' role grow as time goes on. And one of the things Nick Sirianni got into in his most recent press conference was when he was asked about Dallas Goedert, he was talking about Julio Jones. So they do look at him as not a tight end replacement, but someone that is going to get more reps and more looks with Dallas Goedert going down. Now, that might seem obvious just because you think any receiver would be getting more looks without a guy like Dallas Goedert on the field. But I just found it interesting that was the connection that Nick Sirianni made to the question, and that's the answer he gave. When Quez Watkins comes back, and it could be in this game, they open up the 21-day practice window. When Watkins is back, I'm curious to see how much that helps this offense in general. And that's not because Quez Watkins is all of a sudden going to be putting up 130-yard games and 7 catches and touchdowns galore. I hate using it, but the word decoy. You still have to account for him on the field. And if he's taking one guy deep with him on the field, especially in man-to-man coverage or in zone where a safety has to go with him as he's stretching the field to as thin as humanly possible, well, that is going to open up things underneath for the other offensive weapons that Jalen Hurts has at his disposal. Maybe that's DeAndre Swift. Hell, maybe that's Jack Stoll. I don't know. But one of the things that Nick Sirianni talked about when they lost Quez Watkins was the idea of him being able to open up things for other players on the field. Now, when players talk about this with a wide receiver, here's my pecking order. Like, number one is a good wide receiver. He's just a good wide receiver. He catches the ball well. He blocks well. He's an all-around talent. But when people start using the word like they did with Riley Cooper about being a blocker, oh, he's a good blocker. We have him out. He's a good blocker. I'm like, that's not really a compliment for a wide receiver. And then it's just like after that, like maybe a step between he's a good wide receiver, he's a good blocker is he's a good decoy. Because at least the decoy has a chance of making the big play on his own. Maybe the decoy is going to go deep and the defensive back's going to fall down in the most exaggerated sense of this analogy. And he's going to fall down and then Quez Watkins wide open down the field for a touchdown. Maybe that happens. Either way, the safety's deep or the corner is deep. The nickel corner is taken deep and things are open up underneath for Jalen Hurts. Maybe that opens up things in the screen game for a guy like DeAndre Swift. That was something else I saw in the Kansas City Chiefs game. A screen to a running back? What? Is that allowed? I thought they were all supposed to be just quick throws to the outside with bubble screens on your wide receivers and your tight ends. No? You actually throw screens to running backs? What kind of world is this that we're living in? This is bonkers, man. So hopefully, a guy like Quez Watkins is able to take a defensive back deep, open up things a little bit more underneath. Because here's one thing I am going to say. Remember that screenplay? Was it to Olamide Zaccheaus? I believe it was to Olamide Zaccheaus. No, it was to Quez Watkins. There's a bubble screen to the outside against the Rams. Well, of course, it was to the outside. There's a bubble screen, and Quez did not read his block. No bueno. No bueno. All right, now let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing. I'm running the show today, ladies and gentlemen, so watch out. Professor Dutch. Cowboys fans thought they won the Super Bowl beating a trash team like the Commanders. Surprised Romo could even speak with how far he had. Let me get it off the screen. Well played, sir. Well played. You got me on that one. What else do we have here? Here's the deal with Tony Romo. I don't like patting myself on the back for predictions. But I told y'all this was going to happen with Tony Romo. I said the further he gets away from playing football, the worse he is going to be. And I also told you that he was using stuff from production meetings during the broadcast, which is a ginormous no-no. Every once in a while, you'll hear it from a broadcaster. Well, they'll say something like, I know I'm going to get a call from the Eagles on this, but every time Jalen Hurts says this, it means that. It's like, well, dude, shut up. What? You're literally giving away the game plan. And that's what happens. For those that don't know that, every NFL network has a production meeting with the coaches and players, and they go over game plan a lot of times. There's a lot of inside information that's just given away to television networks. And that might sound bonkers to you. But that's true. That happens. And Tony Romo was letting that stuff fly. Yes, my personal theory is, he was great when he was just had played in the league, and he'd already done the study on a lot of different teams and all that stuff, and everyone was getting all caught up in the predictions. The thing with me is like, okay, he just played, and he's getting production show meeting info. Okay, all right. This isn't going to last long. And sure enough, it hasn't. And then before this season, you have stories coming out about how CBS is like, hey, Tony, you have to work, dude. You have to do a little bit of prep. You have to do a little bit of, show prep. Give it a whirl. So I just find him to be more and more annoying. I thought for a while, I was like, okay, he's going to be good at this. All right, maybe. And then I realized what he was doing. I was like, oh, no, this isn't going to work. And then I started to enjoy his broadcast. And then I realized the first game he did with the Eagles, I was not ready for Tony Romo to critique the Eagles. And then I was watching him yesterday, of course, and I'm just like, I'm out. I'm out on Tony Romo. I'm out. How about this? Dak Prescott passed him yesterday for most 4 touchdown games in Cowboys history. So there's something. There's something. Wait, what? Professor Dutch, morning, Farzy fam. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. My dentist picked an awful week to schedule my tooth extraction, but at least I got to enjoy soft foods and a Birds win. There you go, Professor Dutch. Jason A. What's up, Jason A? Happy Thanksgiving. That Cowboys game was whack. Oh, we don't use whack enough anymore. Mihai Sanchez, what's up? Good morning, all. I'm going to my first ever Eagles game this Sunday versus the Bills. I wish I bring them good vibes. There you go. Fly, Eagles, fly. All right, Mihai Sanchez. Enjoy the hell out of that. Sean Gillespie. Good morning, Sean Gillespie. Nice to see you. Every year, Cowboys are big, bad bullies to trash teams. Their delusional fans eat it up. Most of them. Some fans are wise to the boys' antics. Like, if you got to, just think about this for a second. If the Eagles were the Cowboys, I know, stay with me. I'm sorry. But if the Eagles were the Cowboys, would we even enjoy the season? I'm asking you, this is a serious question. If the Eagles did what the Cowboys did, which were beat up on terrible teams. So what are the Cowboys now? That was their 8th win, I believe, yesterday, right? It was their 7th. That was their 8th win. Yeah. 8-3. All those wins have come against craptastic teams. Their one loss also came to a craptastic team in the Cardinals. So I find that very interesting. But if the Eagles were doing what the Cowboys were doing and just blowing teams out and then losing to good teams, that's not a fun season. That's a first-round playoff exit. For us, that's not a fun season, especially when you set the high bar of a Super Bowl. Look at how disappointing the Phillies season was. They set the bar of at least getting to the championship game, and then they lose in Game 7 to an 83-win Arizona Diamondbacks team? No thanks. So now the Cowboys are going to be puffing their chests out. If you're the Cowboys, the only thing you can do is you have to beat the Eagles in Dallas coming up in 3 weeks. And like I said, if there's one game on the schedule that I'm looking at that's a little scary, it would be that game right there. It would be the one in Dallas on the 10th. Sunday Night Football. That's what we're looking at right now, folks. That's what we're looking at. Did I take that off? I did not take that off. Why didn't I take that off? I should probably take that off. Boom. Take it off. What? There we go. This is what happens when I push buttons, folks. Thank you, Sean Gillespie. Sean Kilrain, I want some turducken. Have you ever had turducken? I still have a turducken bone from the butt fumble game. That was an NBC game, and so I could say that I shared a turducken with Vince Wilfork and Tom Brady. Still in the house. My wife tried to throw it out. What the hell, bro? What the hell? Stay warm at the game. What did I see? 40 degrees game time? That ain't cool. That ain't cool. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great, as per usual. For whatever reason, we weren't able to get up on Jacob Media today, so my apologies, Jacob Media. But I appreciate you guys. All right, let's get to the Morning Rush, brought to you by Sky Motorcars, skymotorcars.com. All right, Sixers had an awful loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves. If you watched that game, God bless you. That was not fun. Joel Embiid missed that game. I told you before the game, Joel Embiid probably wasn't going to play. 15 straight games to start the season seemed very, even for Joel Embiid, seemed very un-Joel Embiid-like. Sixers aren't back at it again until tomorrow night. They're in OKC to take on the Thunder. It'll be a 5 o'clock tip-off. The Philadelphia Flyers, ladies and gentlemen. How about your Flyers? They unfortunately took the L to the Islanders. They lost 3-2. They're back at it against the Rangers this afternoon at 1 o'clock. So make sure you check that one out. Flyers, unfortunate 3-2 loss. They took at the hands of the Islanders in New York. 34 saves for Sorokin in net for the Islanders that game. Not a good one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hey, bonus me today coming up on Fox 29. We're going to have some fun there. Also, make sure you guys hit like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Hope you guys once again had a wonderful Thanksgiving. On Monday, regardless of what happens in the Eagles game, we will once again debut for the season the official Farzy Show Christmas twerking penguin. You heard me right, folks. Don't miss Monday's show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. The show is brought to you by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Use promo code Farzy. Also, don't forget about our friends at Sky Motorcars, skymotorcars.com, and PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsStation.com. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Happy Friday. And if you're going to the stores, be careful. Have a good one, everybody. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. See you guys tomorrow. Or see you guys Monday. Bye.